I've always been so comfortable being alone. And it's not something that I've ever really needed to work towards. That part of myself has just always been here. And I think the comfort from being alone or enjoying time alone can make the times spent with special people just even more grand or more impactful. And I suppose it sounds a bit counterintuitive. You know, the love for alone time and the comfort of being alone while basking in those memories or those moments that I share with the people I love. But that's human, and we're pretty complex. About 6 hours into my drive, I stopped at this little town, Green River, Utah. I used to take this route for years. I would always camp in Fruta and then come to Green River for breakfast, typically. I was coming back to Utah. And there's this little diner in Green River, and my dad loved their burritos. They had the best breakfast burritos, and he would always smother his burrito in green sauce. So every time that I would come through Green River, I would stop and have a big breakfast burrito with green sauce and coffee. About 6 hours in, it's noon. I thought this would be the perfect place to stop for lunch and stop and, have the burrito with green sauce. And I always felt like I was having lunch with my dad. I just pulled in here, and the diner has closed forever, like out of business. So that one hurt a little bit, but that is life. Things change, and I will find a different place for lunch. You might notice something is a little bit different in here. Akila is not with me. This is the first time ever that Akila is not with me in the van. It is the weirdest thing. But the reason she's not with me is really for her own good. Where I'm traveling to this week, it's supposed to hit 100 degrees. I will be fully immersed in a workshop that I'm heading to. So I wouldn't be able to tend to her as much as I would need to allow that heat to be okay for her. So she's staying back with Chris and Kobe's. But it is so weird not having her here. I am truly the most alone that I've ever been. I just showered and locked up. It is 9:30. My lower legs and my feet are all swollen. I typically don't drive this much in one day. And one of those reasons usually is because of Akila, because I feel really bad having her just sit in the car for more than like 6 hours. I don't like doing more than 6 hours. Also, it is hot. So I have both fans going, windows open. I will admit that there is a really big difference between traveling / living with a dog and without one. And a lot of my stress and anxiety about Akila and what she needs and if she's drinking enough water and going to the bathroom enough, if she's moving enough throughout the drive, if she's nervous in areas where people are walking by, all of that is not present. Now, I would never choose to not have Aquila and not worry over her, but I do think it's a pretty important distinction. Because I know there's a lot of you out there considering getting a dog, and a dog is an absolutely amazing companion. And I think if you're a good dog parent, there's gonna be a lot of added stress and worrying about your little baby. Oh. 6 more hours. I slept like a baby and it was amazing. All right, coffee.
The truth is, I was never planning for this adventure to be a solo one. Elsa and I were going to do this together. We were going to pack everything up in the van and travel the many hours north into Montana for an epic girls' trip. But something pretty big happened in their lives. So they are on their own kind of big adventure right now. But as far as my little adventure, it really began that next morning.
Black tar kind of texture. We push like on a mic. Puts these little structures in between the fibers of the hide.
It's your hide. What do you want? Do you want me to help you?
This has been applied, and our hides are now dry, and they're open and supple and moving like they should.
She has her little tail.
Usually they just like that.
Sometimes. Yeah, if they're selling them.
And then if you're really good, you can combine the shoulder and the knee.
And everything will just like come out in a big chunk, yeah. And sometimes the tail will rip some, and that's okay.
Okay. So keep with this.
Yeah. And it's like a.
I learned how to traditionally tan a hide. And I did this beside some of the most beautiful, down-to-earth, full of life people I have ever met. Callie Russell and her partner Rain led us through not only brain tanning, but also whole animal processing. And wow, I can say with full certainty that this was one of the best and most transformative weeks of my life.
In the skin, out the wool, under the frame, and back around.
Even just on day 2 here, after washing the hides and fleshing them and then learning how to string them up into our frames, it wasn't that we became fast friends, but it felt more like fast family. We were there to learn from each other and care for each other and work really hard beside each other.
In the softening process, it could open up. It just depends how gentle you are in that area. If you're really gentle, it'll be fine, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes with the stick, you'll wrong. So.
Being torn in every direction. Rain.
Cowboy.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you end up poking through them during the softening process, then
You remind me of so many things. You remind me of flowers golden out.
Match pants and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys saw the pants.
You remind me of shining
them to
through,
10 if you guys want to look at
twirling, dancing across the room. You remind me of falling rain, yeah, that sweet, sweet sound on my window pane. You remind me of the sky so blue. I'm gonna hold on tight to you. You remind me of a warm summer night, yeah, the breeze through the trees, flickering fireflies. You remind me of birds that sing. You remind me of my favorite things.
kind of spacey, like super happy-go-lucky.
We'll get these things happening first and then do that, because I just think who's interested in like boning out?
Cutting is it hard? Long.
We lived and worked and fed together for 8 days, and every single day we learned an immense amount of knowledge. Everything from how to use and honor every single part of an animal, all the way to how to properly dress a hide using the brain tanning method, which is kind of this umbrella term for tanning a hide using emulsified fats. So for our hides, we used a mixture of egg yolks, olive oil, and water to dress the skins.
I'm gonna need to like write this down.
I also would love to write down how buckskin is different.
Touching it like this isn't gonna do much of anything. Pressure, like good amount, and when you're using a tool, choke up. 2 reasons. That way if you punch through, you're not gonna go and rip the whole hide. Second reason is that way you get your, this is like a lever.
Okay.
The longer the lever, the more the leverage. More leverage you get. We can't be afraid to use pressure today, guys. This is gonna be the name of the game. We can really, as long as we're not on a weak point of the hide, we can really give it some you know?
I think I want to like be certain about my parallel and perpendicular to the score.
Yeah.
Are you using your hands first with the wash and then the
Think of it
tools?
like a knife edge.
I am
So
going
the edge
straight
of the
into
knife is
tools.
like this.
Okay.
When we put these the wooden softening sticks, if we put the tip in the ground, especially if we were just working the hide, it's gonna get caked in dirt, sand, and sediment, and that's an abrasive. It's basically like inviting sandpaper to the party, and that's not a friend. We don't want to put abrasives on the hide because it can scratch it up and cause create score marks, which will tear in the softening process.
I would love to do this just to make one pair of pants.
Which is crazy that this seems hard.
This day of softening was definitely the most involved and intense day of tanning the hides. I'd say that I spent probably 7 hours just on the softening phase. But all of the labor and the sore muscles and the tired shoulders made for a very, very sweet evening.
That's cute. Okay.
One might even consider it a common sense on how to go about it. But don't be ashamed if you're like, what the fuck do I do? Because it's like, you know,
Just tell us.
it's all good. Okay.
Carry me back to where I belong.
I have more cookies.
Sometimes it's nice to.
For smoking.
I've
You spoke my name like
a lot.
you drew me back home again.
I just like.
The pants just stay like that.
Yeah.
We'll
No.
go on, but then.
No, we'll go on. I'm doing that just so everybody can see.
I find it
How much
search so
smoke we
deep,
want
the
from there.
colors were lost, I couldn't see.
And we can already see it's funneling through.
Of heart and
I did a stick placement. I did one big one right in here, and then I did one over here to keep this from flopping over.
the flowers had gone. But bring me back, babe, the sun's on its way.
On where the good book was first written. And the glory, glory. And it,
I felt so at home here on this river and with these people that I stayed an extra 2 days because I didn't want to leave. But there is a time in every situation when you just take what you've learned and kind of step forward in your own way, I guess, and decide what to do with it all.
Sometimes I have a really hard time filtering through what words I want to use because I feel like nothing is good enough. None of the words that I want to use actually are good enough. I like forget other people exist. Now I'm seeing like people in cars and I'm not just living on a river with the coolest people ever. There are I think often like these really impactful periods in your life that for the rest of your life you think back to or you use to remind you what matters or what path you want to stay on, or moments that really make you like, yes, like this is it, like this is what aligns with me and what I want. And this week was one of those things that I know in 10 years I'll think back to this week. In 30 years, if I'm lucky enough to live that long, I'll think back to this week and these people and feeling so inspired and like so full in so many ways. But Callie and Rain were absolutely incredible. Callie Russell is the most inspiring person I've ever met in my life. And I have met some really incredible people. I have drawn a lot of inspiration from many other people, many other women. But I have never met somebody quite like Callie. I encourage, if you're drawn to the natural world, which I think majority of us are drawn to the natural world because that is like our home. That's where we come from. If you're drawn to Callie, I know that a lot of people are. Allow yourself to sign up for a class. Being in her presence, being able to absorb her knowledge and her being and her energy is invaluable. Because I'm sure that if you know who she is, you either watched her on Alone or you follow her on social media, and sometimes there can be this fear that the person isn't going to be who they are on social media, you know, but she is beyond who she is on TV or on social media. She's even more of that in person. She's so fully her. I think I'm done yapping. I think it's time to just drive in silence for a while.
Unsurprisingly, the moment I left, I drove straight into the mountains to be alone. Because alone is where I find comfort and peace, where I can integrate the things that I've learned and experienced, and it gives me time to reflect on all of the joy that I felt around the beautiful people that I lived with on the Flathead River in Montana.
I realize you haven't seen my finished hide yet. This is the hide of an Icelandic sheep. I absolutely love it. I think it really suits me. It smells amazing, and I have slept with it every single night since I finished smoking it. It has this really beautiful copper color on some of the black. There's some gray mixed in, and this took many hours of work. This is exactly where I need to be right now. Just completely alone in the forest. Only the sounds of a light breeze. Anyway, this is my hide and I love it dearly. I'm just kind of tidying the van and making my bed because I think tonight's gonna be a really early night for me.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun.